This special board meeting of the Board of Education for February 13th, 2023 is called. Welcome, Mr. Macon. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to consider your appeal of complaint number 2021-04 in accordance with Board Policy 4.50.032P. Mr. Macon, just as we get going here tonight, we know that there are a number of subjects that are contained in prior complaints or complaints that are pending before the Department of Education. So just as a reminder, this meeting tonight is limited to the issues you appeal to the board on this complaint only, and I assume staff have been in contact with you about that. But just to recap what those issues are, the issues before us tonight, issue number 1 is that the complaint that Vernon School failed to protect Black students against sexual misconduct. Issue number 2, in part, is that Black student test scores at Vernon have been in a consistent decline since 2017. The reason why that's in part is because I think the other part of that was that there was a discrepancy in test scores, and I think that part of it has been sustained. So that's not for our consideration tonight because it's already been sustained. So it's just about test scores have been in consistent decline. And then issue number 3, which is that Vernon School under Principal Van Kiefer fails to educate Black students. So from a procedural standpoint, we're going to address in a public meeting the components of the appeal, issues number 1 and 2 that are not subject to the executive session, and that we understand issue number 3 is a complaint, involves a complaint about a public employee, and so we'll move into executive session under ORS 192.6602B when we discuss that. Following the executive session, we'll return to a public meeting. We'll vote on all 3 of the issues at the same time. Any questions about the process from either Mr. Kiefer or the board?
Well, I just want to make you guys aware of the reason why I filed a complaint is because of this young lady right here. So I'm representing her. If you guys don't understand the concept of what's going on.
Great.
She's 10 years old. She's unable to represent herself. So as her parent, I could legally represent her. So I would like to have a few minutes to talk to her about the issues that's going on. I don't think she understood what's going on.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm happy to do that.
Now, how this originally started is that we were at Vernon School, and you seen buckets at the African American Day Assembly, and you had a problem with it. I also found out by talking to Black parents that the African Day Assemblies in whole throughout the district for years have been bad, and it was one of the #1 complaints throughout the district. We reached out to
Mr. Kiefer. Mr. Macon. I'm sorry, Mr. Macon. Mr. Macon. My apologies, Mr. Macon. Okay,
I'm gonna shorten it. Let me finish it. Let me finish it. Hold on. I know what I'm doing. Just please. I'm gonna just say this part. I need to say this part. We reached out to this lady called Danny Ledesma. I don't know if she works here anymore. She said the biggest problem. She didn't reach out to us for about 2 weeks, and me and your mother didn't understand why. Come to find out, there was thousands of people calling Portland Public Schools about the African Day American Assembly. So I was like, it hurt you so much that you started crying about it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to file a complaint, and we're going to get the African Day American Assemblies without buckets in the assembly. So that's one of the reasons. That's why we're here.
So we'll have this process here in the first 2 and then move to executive session. You are going to have 5 minutes at this point to provide your comments on issues number 1 and 2. And then following your comments, the board members may follow up with questions for you or for staff. And then we'll move into executive session. So with that as our process tonight, would you like to begin your 5 minutes?
I came here for I want to talk to you. Tell you how important this is to me. Okay? We're not talking to them. I come here to talk to you. It was a study done. They studied 100 people, and they found out, they studied 1,000 people, and then all of these people were kind of well-rounded, like geniuses, like little men. They were good at art, good at math. Kind of like you. Like you're doing the lips now, and you're doing this. They were trying to find out what was the most common thing in all of these people. And the thing that they found out, it was all of their parents were activists. All that I have to do is wave my finger to this system, and it makes you a more intelligent human being. So there's a method to my madness. All right? And one of the things I want to say to you, wait, I got notes here, I'm sorry. one of the things, you came to me at the African American Day Assembly, and I asked you, I was like, well, how was it? And you said, well, there were black kids that was doing Nina Simone and some other artists. And they were all white kids. There was an entire white jazz band, and you didn't like it. And what I realized then was that was your first sign of seeing racism. And what happens to us as black people is that systems like this try to blow our light out early. And that's what we try to do. So what I want to do is I want to protect your lives. And that's why I'm here. That's why we had to move you out of the district, because you couldn't get an African Day Black Assembly without buckets. Now, we may get it on the 23rd, but we haven't got it since. So I can't allow my daughter to be in a system where she sees herself projected a lot differently than white kids. That's racism. You're not going to be a part of that. So it's my job to separate you from that. Now, with this racism, white people have a belief that they're better than us. With this oppression, there's no proof that white people are better than us. Where's their Martin Luther King? Where's their Malcolm X? They don't even have an Oprah. Obama, W.D. Du Bois. What do they have? They have continued racism. They got.
You can give that to Ruby.
They got what
that
happened
chicken soup.
January the 6th.
Mr. Macon, hold on just a second. Hey, Amy, your phone's not muted. Thank you, I'm sorry.
They have the Ku Klux Klan. Did you know that white people used to take a black man in the woods? It was thousands of white men. They'll take him in the woods, hang him, and then cut his penis off. And they would all sit around and play with his penis in the dark. Even with their oppression, that's the best that they have to offer. We've given these people blues. In the ghettos where I grew up at, we gave them house music, hip hop. They're trying to act like us. There's no sign of us trying to act like them. How are they better than us, even with their oppression? So it's my job to tell you that you're better than buckets. Now, on my complaints, they have that buckets are part of your culture. Throughout my complaints. That's why they have the buckets in the school. They're trying to belittle us. They continue to try to blow our light out. And you know how I know that? Because they try to blow my light out every day. And you know what happens when you add oxygen to fire? It ignites. I set them on fire. They're like, ooh, that's hot. Damn right it's hot. So it's our job it's my job to protect you. It's my job to say that you are better than buckets. Now, little man told me, just a few years ago, he hadn't seen the black kids in his class since he was a freshman. You just told me 3 weeks ago that there's no black people sitting at your table. You know why? No one is protecting their life. Little man, first paper in college was, there's two people that one person can change everything. And he was talking about the complaint we filed against them 10 years ago. He got a name on the paper.
And Mr. Macon, you're at about 5.5 minutes.
We're done. We're leaving. Come on. That's all I have to say. Thank you for coming.
Mr. Macon, just to be clear, you're aware you can stay for questions. I thought so. Just want to double check. Okay. Do board members have any questions for staff, or does staff have anything they want to follow up on issues number 1 or 2?
I have nothing. I have nothing.
Okay. I will now ask the question of legal counsel, whether we should go into executive session to address issue number 3.
I think you only have to if there is discussion to be had.
Okay.
If there isn't, if the board members do not want to have any, don't need any discussion and just want to move to the vote, we don't need to move into executive session.
Okay, so I'll pose that question to the board. Do folks have questions of staff that we can move into executive session on issue number 3? Not seeing any, and we will move on. Okay, so now to wrap up this appeals process, the board will need to vote separately on the 3 issues before the board. On the superintendent's decision on a step 3 appeal, complaint number 2021-04, and as I mentioned, we'll vote separately on each of the issues. So the first issue, issue number 1, so I'm going to call this question, it gets a little bit confusing, but all in favor of affirming the superintendent's decision on complaint number 1, which was that Vernon School failed to protect Black students against sexual misconduct, and that finding was not sustained. So again, we're voting yes in order to uphold the superintendent's finding that the complaint was not sustained. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
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 All those opposed say no. Issue number 1 is affirmed by a vote of 6-0. Right? Yes, 6. Yes. Yes, thank you. 6-0. Okay, all in favor of upholding the superintendent's decision on issue number 2, that Black student test scores at Vernon have been in a consistent decline since 2017. Again, that finding was not sustained by the superintendent. So all those in favor of upholding the superintendent's decision say yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
All opposed, please indicate by saying
Yes.
Issue number 2 is affirmed by a vote of 6-0. And all in favor of upholding the superintendent's decision on issue number 3, that Vernon School under Principal Ben Kiefer fails to educate Black students, that was also not sustained. Please indicate by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
All opposed?
Yes.
Saying no. And issue number 3 is affirmed by a vote of 6-0. And with that, the meeting is
Before
adjourned.
you,
Oh, sorry. You're not yet adjourned. Sorry. Director Edwards.
I guess since it's a public meeting, I just wanted to state that, I think initially some of the issues that Mr. Maycomb raised were good issues for the district to have raised at the district level, and we did issue an apology to him for what happened at the assembly, which I know caused him a lot of hurt. So I just want to note that while I support the findings and school staff, that there was a point in time that we did look at what had happened at the assembly that had hurt him and his family, and have apologized for that.
Final comments? And we are adjourned.